So our next speaker, we're happy to have Ron Birk, who's the president of the American Astronautical Society, and he's also the principal director for the Development Directorate at the Aerospace Corporation. With regards to his role at AAS, we're happy to have him here because for many years the American Astronautical Society partnered with us on our Achieving Mars workshops, as well as sponsored and participated in this event. So we're happy to have AAS back here at the Humans to Moon and Mars Summit. So Ron?
All right. Chris, thank you so much. All right. Good afternoon, all. It is absolutely great to be here with you all and everyone online. Welcome the opportunity to share a bit of perspective relative to evolving space ecosystems. We've heard quite a bit about the concept and certainly the reference to space ecosystems in conversations this afternoon. I noted that Deborah Factor-Lepore mentioned the construct many times. So we're going to talk a little bit about where we see those areas evolving. But first, I'd like to spend just a moment with a bit of reflection on the American Astronautical Society in the context of our discussions here today. So it's intriguing to think that in 1952, there was a group in New York, a Staten Island Interplanetary Society that put out a notification in the paper that they were going to hold a meeting on problems associated with propulsion, navigation, and physiology of planet hopping. Okay, 1952. So they held a few meetings, and they had a little bit of difficulty sort of generating the level of engagement that they were seeking. But those that were participating doubled down on their resolve, and they went forward and established the American Astronautical Society in January of 1954, just a short 71 years ago. And that society established as part of its charter, as part of its constitution, a focus on problems addressing proposals to problems associated with conducting activities in space. And that has been a guiding light, a North Star for the Society for these past 71 years. And to this day, we continue to focus on all areas, advancing all space, and in particular, the value of networking across organizations and people that are associated with being able to accomplish grand challenges in space. And that brings us to a nice segue. One of the guiding lights for AAS today is a set of 8 areas, so-called slate of 8 that as we refer to them, of areas that look different through the windshield than they do through the rearview mirror relative to activities in space. And 2 of those 8 areas include space ecosystems and human spaceflight, which is right at the nexus of our conversation. We have, as a society, and also in my role with the Space Enterprise Evolution with the Aerospace Corporation, serving as an FFRDC for the Space Enterprise, we have been tracking activities associated with evolving space ecosystems for several years. And just in the cislunar domain alone, for the moon part of Moon and Mars, we have been tracking over 80 companies developing over 100 capabilities that are all associated with one or more layers of fundamental or foundational infrastructure that's necessary for a sustainable space ecosystem. And Believe me, I can appreciate that was a lot of words to string together into a sentence. So I appreciate you running with me as I lay that out. But if you unpack that a little bit and think about it, that's a significant number of independent players, independent organizations that are all developing capabilities in their own arena that, pause longer if we had more time, that all need each other, right? They all need to be able to engage with, interoperate with, and advance capabilities with the others. So for instance, we're appreciating the progress that companies are making in developing cislunar communication systems. Others that are developing power systems, others are developing navigation systems, other propulsion systems. And all of those individual organizations are producing products that are going to need to be able to interoperate, interrelate in a sustainable way in an ecosystem of space. As we think about the overall economy, space economy growing from roughly 600 billion in the now time frame to over $1 trillion in the early 2030s, as several forecasts have indicated, including our friends at Space Foundation, and a shout out to Kelly Kettis-Ogborn and team for the good work that they're doing there, and having actually had an opportunity to give a keynote at their New Frontiers session at Space Symposium this year, where I shared about a 45-minute version of these brief remarks that I'm sharing here with you this afternoon. They recognize that this continued growth of the overall economy is expanding from Earth to space applications to more space to space, in-space applications. And a large part of that growth from 600 billion to over $1 trillion is going to be in space to space, in the space to space arena. That is going to require and drive a need for these companies to work together and figure out how their different systems and capabilities will interoperate. And we are recognizing the value of several tools, several engineering tools that can enable that. One of those is enterprise engineering, and I commend that to all of us to think about. That is an ENCOSI defined type of engineering of solving complex problems through the interactions of organizations and people. So it's very people-oriented engineering discipline. Second discipline is beyond system of systems engineering, which we're all familiar with, to ecosystem engineering and figuring out how to, in fact, design and develop capabilities that not only do what they're supposed to, but do it in concert with other tools and products and so forth that others are building, and do no harm in the process. So there's the ecosystem engineering dimension. And then a coupling agent between those two is a digital engineering domain, a digital engineering environment, which delivers a value proposition of providing a common engineering environment for all of those players, all of those organizations and people who are developing capabilities separately, to look at how their individual capabilities fit together, work together, operate together, and evolve together, and enable a sustainable, evolvable space ecosystem. So highlighting the value of that is an opportunity that our colleagues at DARPA undertook, which many of you may be familiar with, is called Luna 10. And specifically what DARPA did was recognize the value of demonstrating the concepts that I'm outlining, right? And so they put out a call. They selected 14 companies They put the companies under contract, and each of the companies was developing a separate but intentionally compatible capability. After all, and what I'm about to share was shared with me by the program manager, Michael, goes by the call sign of Orbit. How brilliant is that, right? How poetic is that? Nyack, that after the 14 companies were, on contract, they came to him and said, "Look, you intentionally put us in play to work together. Where is the common engineering environment that we are all going to use so that we're all on the same page?" And appreciating the value of that challenge, Orbit commissioned a company by the name of Alias Technologies to develop an engineering environment for that purpose. And they've used the tools and capabilities in the project, which has completed at this point, but the resulting engineering environment is enduring, and we have the benefit of being able to look at it to see what I'm hand-waving about, actually see, I'll call it demonstrative evidence. So what I'd like to do, pardoning the fact that I cannot see anything, I am blinded by these lights, is motion to our AV person to start the video. And this is under the banner of a construct that we've given a name, Luniverse, and the ideal is that this is an instantiation, a space-based instantiation of an industrial metaverse, for those of you who are familiar with that construct. When I first heard it, I thought it was a buzzword, but I've since come to understand that it's a very well-established approach in adjacent industries for using digital environments to do basically everything from design through development, integration, deployment, operations, and even disposal. So let me stand back, raise the volume, and
digital twin of the moon,
share this with you.
An industrial metaverse framework that allowed simulation of multiple digital twins in a system of systems and create a common operational picture of the emerging lunar requirements for capability development. We need to focus on communications. Power. In situ resource utilization. To harvest the resources on the moon, to help create a sustainable footprint moving forward. Transportation. This industrial metaverse simulation is the foundational framework of a hyper-accelerated digital twin future for cislunar development, and the first vision of the requirements for Spaceport 1.
All right, so thank you for the opportunity to share that with you. It's offered as demonstrative evidence that this kind of capability can exist now, and it may be beneficial to highlight that as sort of Hollywood production level as that appeared, that is based on a digital environment that is an engineering environment. It is physics and engineering accurate, and it is the kind of capability, it's one of many capabilities of its type, is one of the more sophisticated ones, but to emphasize the fact that we as a community have these kinds of tools and resources available to support collaboration that goes beyond legacy sharing of paper-based designs and plans, and allows us to work in a more interactive and dynamic environment. With that, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to join you this afternoon, and wish you all the best in our future endeavors. Thank you so much.